Hello there and welcome to the Bootstrap course. Now let's just take a moment and a bit of a release breath and try to figure out what we just did in the last movie. Now the first line is actually the doc type of the HTML that is always and always necessary to make sure that it is out there. Then we have mentioned the language is English, and after that we have got our first title. Now this meta tag is pretty much obvious because we are using the UTF-8 standard, which is always a good thing to mention. Now here comes the bootstrap part, and we need to make sure that we understand every line after this. Now the first thing that says is the name viewport. Now this is actually a necessary part, and what it does is actually it checks what kind of device you are using, whether it's a mobile, it's a laptop, or it's a widescreen. Now the content width device width part sets the width of the page to follow the screen width of the device. Of course, it will depend on what device it is. The next phase is important, that says initial scale 1. It's a part sets the initial zoom level when the page is first loaded on the browser. Now this part is really important because this makes sure that all the touch sensitivity on your mobile phones and on your touch screen laptops is make sure it's being available to the user. This meta tags make sure that all kind of such rendering and touch zooming is made available to the user. Now then we come to the next part, that is minified CSS and the optional theme and the minified JavaScript. Now there is nothing much extraordinary with the minified CSS, it's just an ordinary CSS, but whatever the extra spaces, enters, blank lines are all being deleted from these minified CSS. So it's pretty quick on the mobile devices to get uploaded. Now here comes the debate. Now most of the users or the developers will say that the CSS should only be the thing that should we have to keep in the head part. After that, the script part and all of these should go at the bottom of the page. Now there is a reason for that, why we should do that, because many times the user will be on the side which will have a low bandwidth. Now on that particular case, you want to make sure that user is actually seeing something on his device. Now this will not at all be possible if first of all the web page will load up the JavaScript. So if you make sure that your device is getting some things on the screen and it is started to load up, then you really want to make sure that this script part is being at the bottom of the page. Now again, depending on your choice, if you want to make sure that your page looks really nice at the very first impression, you want to keep this at the top, otherwise at the bottom. Now the next part comes up is the classes. Now all of these classes are being defined in the CSS part, which is already out there in the content delivery network out there. And the first thing is the container. Now whenever you are going to look at the Bootstrap page, there are two types of container classes. The first one is what you are seeing out here is the container class, which provides a full responsive fixed width container. There is also a container fluid class, which provides a full width container spanning the entire width of the viewport. Now what just I said is not at all and easy to understand. So let's take a look on that. So I'm going to minify this, and right now what you are seeing is simply the container that's out here on the web page. Now notice the web page really closely because I'm going to enter the fluid in it. Now as I enter the fluid, as I save it, notice the changes. Now this is the change I was talking about. Now as I said, the fluid class provides a full width container, of course depending on whatever your device it is. But if I remove the fluid from it and I press Ctrl S for saving it, notice the extra spaces out here. So this is all about. Now again, depending on your choice, you want to have a fluid container or container, you can choose as it is. I like to choose mostly as a fluid because it uses the entire space from my web page, whether it's on a mobile or on a laptop or maybe on a wider screen. The next is the Jumbotron. Now again, what is this Jumbotron class? Now this Jumbotron is this grayed area which you can see just behind my first Bootstrap page. This is the Jumbotron. Now this is being designed for getting extra attention of the users. Now I'm quite a fan of Jumbotron because in the previous days we have to get this Jumbotron look by some extra CSS or maybe some background images and all of that. But Bootstrap allows you to have it by just making a division of Jumbotron, and I'm quite a fan of it. It attracts quite a lot of attention, and in most of the landing web page you will see Jumbotron quite a lot. Now let's move ahead. Once you have got Jumbotron, after that we are on to the rows. Now we will talk about the grids and all of these parts in the upcoming movies, but right now let's just say that there is some grid mechanism in the Bootstrap and you have to choose what kind of grid you want to have. Now there are a column, you can see in the class there is a column for smaller and we are having a grid of 4. Now 4, 4 and 4. Notice the total is 12 and you will notice something in the later movies that this 12 number is itself is having some importance. You should make a note of that. Now apart from that we haven't done anything extra. So this is all what we have talked. Now when we will talk about the Bootstrap, there are a lot of extraordinary terminologies like popover, collapse, carousels. Once we have already seen the Jumbotron and some typography, some special buttons and all of that. Now make sure that you remember all of them because all the thing that you have to do in the Bootstrap is to make sure that you remember the name. That's it, all you have to be worried about. So I hope you have got what we have done in the previous movies. It was pretty simple. And now let's move on to some more terminologies that will help you to create marvelous Bootstrap pages.